Welcome to the self-healing class. I'm going to tell my story or some of my story. I don't know if we're going to be able to tell the whole thing and exactly what that looked like for me, because I know what a lot of you are struggling with or your clients. And I'm going to talk about the how, because that's the number one thing everyone wants to know. But tell me how, tell me how, tell me how. And then I'm going to share testimonials. So I have clients and coaches here who I want them to come on and share their experience in this work, what they thought, what their life looked like, what the pain felt like, or what was going on in their body, and what they think, feel, and like show up as today compared to what they used to think. So let me know in the chat box if, oh shoot, is chat working? Yeah. Let me know in the chat box if you have an experience with chronic pain, if you understand what is the mind-body syndrome, what is TMS, like if you understand any of that, let me know so I know where the audience is so I can go back as far as I need. Do you already have an understanding of the mind-body disconnect, or like my son says, TMS, we call the mind-body syndrome. He calls it too much shit. And I was like, yeah, it kind of is. It's kind of where you're carrying too much stuff that is not yours, or too much stuff that you are holding on to, too much stuff that you believe. So that is our interpretation of TMS. That's like the new way to talk about it, because we now have a deeper understanding of what is happening. When this first started, when I first started experiencing this, I had no idea, first of all. I thought I was just broken. I thought I was faulty, defected. There was something wrong with my body. I was a special broken unicorn. I was different. Like the reason that I was having to run so many tests and that we weren't getting a proper diagnosis or we weren't getting any relief was because like I was different. My condition was different. You know, it was like some sort of special diagnosis that they hadn't found yet. And that led me to more and more and more and more and more doctors and more tests and more treatments because I thought that about myself. So let me see where you guys are. I have an understanding, and I like your son's definition. He's 26, so those were his words as I was working on his neck and talking to him about this. And he's been hearing this for a few years now. And that was his conclusion. And I'm like, actually, that's perfect. Yes, I am familiar with the mind-body connection. Anyone else? So, okay, let's start here. So my issues, I'll say, or my stuff back in the day, let's just take it back to childhood, is I was like the one with the stomach ache, that I was on Librax like at a very young age because I had what they called a nervous stomach. And I remember I had to drink milk and magnesia. That was part of my treatment. And I would go outside and pour it on the side of the steps because I couldn't drink it. It was chalky and milky and I wanted to throw up. I mean, I was like young. And I saw that it killed the grass. And my little mind was like, I can't drink that. It's killing the grass. Like it's going to kill me. Right. And so I didn't want to take that medicine. And here I am. I have a sister who's telling me I'm a hypochondriac. There's always something wrong with me. All I want is like attention, attention, attention. You know, it was like everything is about me and I always need something. And that stuff stays with you. And I remember asking the question, like, is a hypochondriac the same as TMS? Right? Because it is like an illusion of like the way I was seeing it, or what I was confused about, is I wasn't making it up. Like I was like, my stomach really did hurt. My throat really did hurt. My knee hurt. Like it was real. Like I was trying to understand what they meant by hypochondriac. But I think the conclusion was coming from, it was always something. So just stop for a moment and see if you can relate to that. It was always something. If it wasn't a headache, it was something with my hand. It was a splinter in my foot. It was like just always something in the body somewhere else that was going on. And I remember like that planting a seed, and like I was trying not to be sick. I was trying not to be hurt. I was trying not to say anything because I didn't want that negative attention. And it didn't stop. The conditions didn't stop. Eventually, at that time, I remember the stomach ache, and then it was the middle of the night and I was crying and I didn't want to tell my dad anything because I was a hypochondriac and I was always complaining. So I was trying not to say anything. And then I was eventually crying so much that he heard me, and my appendix almost ruptured. Like by the time I got to the hospital, they had to do emergency surgery. By this time I was in 7th grade, but just to say the extreme of where the mind or our perception, how far we can take this, and after that, I was pretty much on a smooth sailing. But when I became an adult, I would say 19, 20 years old, I started with a headache, and I went to the doctor, and the headache led to antidepressants, which led to pain meds, and that's kind of what started it. So imagine at 20 years old is when it was confirmed that there was something wrong with me. I was broken. And the way that depression was explained to me was like, yeah, well, it's like probably something you're always gonna have to take meds for. It's no big deal. We have treatment for it. And, knowing the story about my mom, and she left her kids, and, she must have been a little crazy, bipolar, mental illness, that was kind of thrown into all of that. So there was like an assumption that I also would have this to deal with. And it's just a lifetime thing. It's no big deal. You just take some pills. So that's kind of how that kept going. But the problem is the pills weren't working. I would go from one to the other to the other. So either they had me climbing in the walls, like till all hours where I couldn't sleep, or I was completely depressed and numb. Like, don't even want to talk about sex or think about sex because I can't feel anything anyway, right? I was just like completely numb. And so then there was diagnosis of like bipolar and like clinical depression, and like this stuff just kind of kept going. And I would say at 29, I went to a retreat, a silent retreat. And this is where I really started kind of slowing down and watching and getting curious and understanding. I had seen a rheumatologist when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And thank God for this man, because he is the reason I am here talking about this today. He says fibromyalgia is self-inflicted. I was like, what? He said it is a condition of behavior, not taking care of yourself, people pleasing, codependency, not getting enough sleep, not getting enough exercise, not taking care of yourself, not putting focus and attention on your physical care and putting it somewhere else. And then you deplete yourself. And then it goes into this vicious cycle. And it's a matter of turning it around. Now imagine my hypochondriac self, like, wait a minute, are you telling me I'm a hypochondriac? I remember asking him that, because here's the story again. And the way he explained it, there was like, I think of it like Southern hospitality here. Like it's always like, hey, take off your shoes. We're going to like set you up. Do you need a blanket? Are you cold? What do you want to eat? Like, that's just the nature, right? That's the environment that we're brought up in. It's our culture. And so I didn't see it as overgiving, overdoing, people pleasing. I liked the way it felt when people appreciated me. And I just went on the other side, and it became extreme. And I had just completely ignored or denied myself. I was a hypochondriac. I didn't need to be thinking about it. Does that make sense? Like all of this stuff is playing in my head. And so he told me to get the book by Pema Chodron, which was When Things Fall Apart. So that was kind of my introductory to this mindfulness, and which is really kind of what was happening. Because when you stop overgiving, people pleasing, codependency, when you stop that behavior, you're no longer going to get all of those needs met by people telling you how amazing you are and thank you and, oh, I appreciate you so much. All of that stops when you stop. And it's like grief. Everything falls apart. Everything breaks apart. Everything you knew, everything you were, everything that you saw that you were supposed to be doing is like gone. And it was like this big crash, tumbling down. And I started, this is what he told me, 5 minutes a day. Well, 5 minutes, 2 times a day. Just sit in silence. Just sit in silence. And that's how simple his approach was. And he says, just doing that for yourself. And then maybe going out for a walk, like eating something that tastes good, that's nutritious, taking care of yourself, and then going to bed, sleeping at night, getting enough rest. I was getting approximately 4 hours of sleep a night. I was like in business and like just run and go. And, I just didn't see any fault in it because it felt really good. So all of that kind of what started this. And then I found the work of Louise Hay, which made so much sense to me. Because when I read the connection of the body parts that were going faulty, the appendix, the bellyache, the throat, like getting my tonsils out, the gallbladder, like even like vision, not wanting to see what's close by, not wanting to see what's off in the distance, not wanting to hear what's going on, not validating your own voice, not being able to speak, not having permission to express yourself. Like these are all things that were connecting the dots. And I was like, whoa, hold on. I've always been pretty inquisitive. Like I was always inquiring and trying to figure out, exactly what was happening, what was going on. And so it made sense when I started connecting all of the ailments and all of the things that had happened. And so I was like, I'm in. I believe this. How many of you are familiar with Louise Hay's work? Let me know in the chat box. If you're on Facebook, you can put it in the comments. I'll check it later. Yes, I know TMS and I have healed some things. I had a mysterious stomach pains as a child too. Yes, I am becoming familiar with TMS. I am learning and I am loving the work. And Stenya says there are depleting and renewing emotions just through you, she says. Okay, so is anybody familiar with Louise Hay's work? Or do you have an understanding of metaphysics or like craniosacral? I've heard of Louise Hay through Irene Lyons. Yes. And so it's basically awareness. Because once I was onto the awareness, like, wait a minute, this behavior relates to this and this relates. And then I started yoga teacher training and meditations, and I started learning about the chakras. And I followed the work of Carolyn Mace. I've seen her live, where I was like, holy smoke, like I was all in by this time. And I am really, not only am I understanding it, I'm able to relate my own body parts, like in my surgeries and all of the stuff. Because when I was 29 years old is when I had the full hysterectomy. I about lost it. Guys, I'm telling you, about lost it. My head and my body was completely disconnected. And it's like my mind would say, get up and do this. And my body was like, hell no, it ain't happening. And I couldn't pull it together. I had all of these kids, I had these businesses. And like, I'm telling you, I was just like, everything was just dropped and messy. It was like dropping a basket of eggs and it was just messy all over the place. And all of this work of the trying to understand, to put it together, to starting to meditate, to come into awareness and really start to awaken to how the mind, body, and soul work when they're together and how there's like a deficit whenever they're apart, whenever they're disconnected. So fast forward through all of that. And let's say I have an understanding. I'm at least 10 years in. I'm bringing it into my coaching. I'm talking about it to my yoga students. I'm telling all of my nail clients, anyone I know, everyone, just like you, if you heard about TMS, now you're telling everyone and very few believe you, right? Can you relate to that? So, but I kept talking and I kept like discovering it. Well, a couple of years ago, it's probably going on 3 now, for sure a good 4 years. I started getting ready to promote the integrative coach training, which was all about healing the mind body. I was training health and wellness practitioners. I'd already started doing it, but I wanted to run Facebook ads and put it online and like start reaching people outside. Does that make sense? Like bringing strangers in, cold market, you would call this in business. And I pay the guy $2,000 and he's like, all right, you got to do your Facebook Live and then you can send it to me. And I could not sit. I'm telling you, I sent the $2,000 and then I couldn't sit down. I couldn't sit in a chair. And those of you here who knew me at the time, you know what I'm talking about. Because if I happened to move the wrong way while I was laying on my stomach doing calls, I could not breathe. It was unbelievable how much pain this was. So it ended up being sciatica, and this went on for, I think I had 16 weeks that I couldn't sit down. It ended up being a 6-month bout. And I came head on with, is this true or not? So how many of you can relate? You got to a point, is this true or not? I kind of believe, I've seen it work. I know it could work, but it's not working right now. I really think I need to say a doctor on this one. It's been going on too long. I bet it's something, what if it is? What if it's a tumor? What if it's right? All of that stuff starts. And I was like, no, like I truly believe this. And this is like everything I know right now. Like I was so sure about it, but the pain wouldn't leave. And that's really what I want to talk about and what I want to present to you. Because if you are here, you're likely in that position where you do know, you do believe it, yet it's not working for you in this moment, or you're not all the way to where you want to be, or you're still having bouts of it. And tell me in the chat box if this makes sense. So I reached out to, other practitioners and stuff that I was working with. And I ended up doing the MRI. I didn't know what else to do. It wouldn't go away. I had tried everything. I was doing energy work. I was doing massage. I was doing physical therapy. I was doing acupuncture. I was doing cranial. You name it. I was doing it. Thank God I have a team of holistic health practitioners. They were all with me through the whole entire thing. Some came to my house because I couldn't get up. I couldn't drive. I couldn't go anywhere else. And I had everything set up with the surgeon, with, all of that stuff. And I really sat in silence. And I seeked everything inside of me. And I knew that that's what it was, that it was TMS that had turned on me again. And it happened because I was scared. I was scared to put myself out publicly. I was scared to talk about what I'm talking about right now. I thought my best friend, who is a doctor's wife, was like going to disown me. They were going to ridicule and laugh at me. When my husband and my kids go to the doctor, they say, "Oh, did Dr. Kim approve this?" Like making jokes about this belief. And that's powerful stuff when you have this little girl or this other part of you that is afraid. We all have that part of us that is afraid, right? And I kid you not, I was sitting in my patio and I kept looking over to the right, which was under my carport, waiting for the police. The cops were going to come and get me and arrest me because I was in health and wellness. I was in doTERRA essential oils, and we were warned so much about using the word heal or cure or this can do that or any kind of claims. And I mean, I was so careful about it. And then I had this like, oh my God, this is happening to me. I need to tell the people. I have all these clients who are suffering with this. And yet so this is what we call dissonance, right? I need to tell the world so I can help them. You can't, you will be in trouble. Like this was going on constantly. I was like, they are going to crucify me, hang me, burn me, put me in jail. Like I'm telling you the drama. I wasn't like saying this and that, like I wasn't outspoken about it, but this is the feeling. This is what was happening inside. I was scared. I was shaking and my nervous system was responding. And I had all of this stuff like pounding on the inside, and I had all of this pain shooting down the leg. And I have all of these coaches that I'm training, and they're like with me in this. I'm sure, and you guys can put in the chat box what was happening for you while I was in the middle of this, because it was fairly new to the group. And like, it was like an entanglement with truth that was happening. And that, if you look up sciatica, it is all about feeling insecure. It's about lack of like intimacy in your relationship, even your relationship with yourself and who you are. And it was just shooting, I'm telling you, all the way down to my ankle, and I was like, there's no way I can keep doing this. This can't be just a typical sciatica case. Like people can't survive this way. That's what kept going through my head. Anyway, I made a decision and I went all in and I never turned back. And I kid you not, I'm 100%. Like it wasn't the same day. It wasn't the same day, but the days became more and more tolerable. I had to keep reminding myself. I did nothing else. So I want to be really clear about this. You can do it with the information I'm going to give you. You can DIY it. You can get support in the Facebook group, but we're going to keep leading you back to what your brain does not want to hear. And that it is about your beliefs, whether you can see it or not. It's about your unprocessed emotions, or what I call unfelt perceptions. And I throw lightly the word trauma in because trauma does not have to be this big catastrophic event. Trauma is a perception. Trauma is personal. So my little grandbaby had her ears pierced today. I imagine she experienced trauma. Does that make sense? So those things that create this scar, this imprint on the nervous system, that is trauma. And what happens is as we experience life, more experience, those traumas are reactivated. We call those triggers. Now, we have the process. This is the 5-step process, which we use for trigger training, for understanding, for awareness. We have to continue telling ourselves, I am safe. It is okay to feel this. I can process this. I can stay in this discomfort. It will not kill me because your brain believes it's going to kill you. Guys, I believed I was going to be killed on this perturbed level. And if you think about history and you watch Joan of Arc, the story of Jesus, anybody who spoke of something and was killed for it, like it is real. It is in the consciousness that we all live and breathe. It's inside of us because we've heard the story. So think back when you heard the story when you were a kid. Think back how you felt when you saw Jesus on the cross or in the church or think about it is in us. It is an emotional scarring. We call this a samskara. And these scars, which are wounding, which are triggers, our brain is reacting and responding to the sensations, even though we can't fully feel what it is. And the healing is about the awareness. It's about the understanding. And as long as you are seeking out therapy and treatments and supplements and quick fixes, that is an indicator that you think there is something wrong with you, that you are still in the story. So let me know where you are in the chat box. I want to get a couple of stories up. I want you to meet some of my clients who have worked with this. And because you can sit here and listen to me and I can tell you all of my stories and I have so many more than what you heard. But I really think it's effective for our minds to witness, to experience other people. I will tell you the how-to, but I think it'll make a lot more sense to you if you hear it from others, because your brain is constantly looking for evidence of what you believe, right? I'm still seeking the cure stage. Yes, Robin, that is the indicator, boo. And listen, you are a smart woman who is aware, who is very knowledgeable. And that is what makes us the exact perfect candidates for TMS. We kind of are perfectionists. We are researchers. We are those get out there and get it done and trying to it's like this highly functioning individuals. I'm still looking for how to recover. All right, well, we're going to tell you. So I wanted to look at the list. So Peggy says, it is a journey of information. Witnessing the intense pain and watching him stay in it was so encouraging for me to begin my own journey of healing. She healed herself and now helps me stay in my journey to healing myself. I want to bring on Danielle and Peggy and Bridget for sure. And so I'm looking for you guys to bring you on. Kayla too. So we can kind of do this little roundtable discussion. So you can ask questions. We're going to give you takes on the story, how it worked for them, what were their doubts, how they didn't believe me, that kind of stuff. Peggy literally sat with me one day from 10:30 to 4:30 as I cried and feared, and it was intense. It was intense, and just stayed and allowed me to process and move through the experience. And I'm going to tell you what my fear was. I'm clean right here. So if you have any questions for me, I'm giving you everything. I have nothing to hide. My fear was, if I tell you guys everything that I now believe, you will leave me. You will think I'm crazy. You will dump me. I will have no friends, no support, and I'm going to be out and die alone. I was learning about all of this work. I had done so many modalities. I had been trained in so many things. Guys, by this time, I'm like a massage therapist and a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher and a health coach and a life coach. And what are the other things? Hypnotherapist and you name it, I have done it, from cosmetology all the way to body work to mind body work. And I was suddenly coming across this kind of woo stuff. It was just like taboo. And because I live in Southern Louisiana, and we have all this religious or spiritual or, all this stuff, this upbringing, it was really hard and I was really scared. A very common fear from abandonment wounds. Yeah. My husband had a glimpse of how this works this past week, and to see his face realize his pain was from his thoughts was priceless, I bet. Okay, guys, so I'm going to bring you on because I want to have this discussion. So Danielle, let's talk about that. Peggy, I want to talk about your leg and the incident that we had at the camp, how intense that had been. And Bridget, I want to talk about your headache, neck pressure when you were calling me for massage therapy. And I said, we no longer do massage therapy in person. We can do it over the phone. I want to have that conversation with you. And then Kayla, which these guys all have something like, I think our stories are also different. So let me start with Danielle. Danielle, so you're a pharmacist, you understand medicine, you understand energy and how all of this works. And then, so you had a glimpse of it. And then as we start doing the work together, there's kind of like, what is your new awareness? Like, where is this kind of diving in a little deeper? And you're now your brain is like gathering evidence and starting to test it out and try it. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it started with gathering the evidence, just, kind of gathering the information and reading the books and watching you all, have your self-discoveries. But then whenever I started to have my own pains, I started just kind of playing with it. So the first time I did it, it was my daughter had slept with us and she was like, she's an adult size. And I'm like, my thought is you shouldn't be sleeping with us in the bed, and I woke up and I have this crick in my neck and it was so bad. And my thought was, I'm going to have this at least for the next 5 days. And so I just dabbled I searched on YouTube for a healing meditation. And so I listened to it. It was about 25 minutes long. And like, I felt immediate relief. It wasn't 100% gone, but like, I was like, whoa, okay, what's this? This is good. This, okay. And so by the next day it was gone. So I was like, okay, so just, gathering evidence again. So every once in a while I would share that with someone. If they're like, oh, I got a crick in my neck, or, my back hurts, I would say, I have this healing meditation. Let me share it to you. I would not tell that to everyone, just who I felt like would be maybe a little open to it. Normally they didn't even listen to it. I just felt like compelled to share, right? And so then again, I had another crick in my neck and I was like, okay, it worked the first time. Let's see if this works again. And so sure enough, I did it again and it worked again. And I'm like, I'm hooked. Okay, this stuff works. There's something going on. It's more than just, oh, I slept in a bad position. There was just something more. And another time, Kim, I remember I was at work and my lower back started hurting and it reminded me of the past. My lower back used to hurt a lot, all the time. And I just never thought anything about it. I thought it's because I'm standing on my feet, working 8 hours a day. And so I was like, let me Google this. I looked up Louise Hay. What does lower back, mean? And it was about money. And sure enough, like I had gotten so good at budgeting. I had worked with a coach. I was, finally making progress, but then I just stopped budgeting and then kind of went back to my old self. And so I had found myself where I was having some money, financial issues that had come back again. And I was really stressed about that. And then whenever I read that it was about money, I was like, shit, yes, I am like totally thinking about money right now. So I just came back to myself, did some breathing. I didn't even have to do the meditation at that point. Like just the awareness of knowing that that's what was causing my pain was that my subconscious thoughts and even my conscious thoughts at sometimes I just allowed myself, gave myself grace, and just, it's okay, talk to my inner self, and it just slowly dissipated. It's just, I mean, it's undeniable. It worked for me. If it's a placebo effect, then great.
Right.
But what is the placebo effect? The placebo effect is something and it works. So if
It's
we
a
can,
belief that it will work. It's a belief that this pill
exactly.
will work, this massage will work, this meditation will work, this.
Yeah, and we do not deny that. Like, that's in every study. There is a placebo effect built into every scientific study. And so um
Look
I'm
at what
like all
meditation.
game, and so anytime I have any ache, I'm like, okay, what's going on? What are my thoughts? I'm trying to think what the most recent one was. It was emotions. It was not processing emotions. It was, I think, connecting. And sure enough, there was someone that I had not been connecting with, and that it was a relationship that had just been in the back of my mind that I knew that I needed to heal it. And I had that. So I had that pain in my arm. And then,
You had something recently with your husband.
yeah, so with my husband, um, I can't talk too loud because I'm like, why are you talking about me? But okay, so he woke up, his neck was just killing him, like really, really, really bad. And I've sent him healing meditations before, and he was never really that open to it. He was just kind of frustrated with the whole thing, can't keep still. But he woke up, his neck is killing, neck is killing. I'm like, I cannot help but to tell him, like, okay, that's probably your thoughts, your beliefs, what's going on. And so I just got tired of listening to him. And so one morning he woke up and he was like complaining. I said, don't say anything. I'm not judging you. We don't have to have a conversation about this, but I just have to ask you, like, are you having thoughts that you have to do everything yourself and that you have this big burden that it's weighing on you? And he was like, yeah.
That's it. When you can ask the right questions, man.
And yeah. And so I was like, okay. So I just kind of left it at that. Didn't really. So then he went, and we had done meditations together before. So he was like, okay, I'm going to go do a meditation. So he went inside and he did a meditation, and he said that like it kind of gave him a little bit of relief just by doing that one meditation, just sitting there in quiet and just like, yeah, so it's crazy. And so the next day I checked in with him and he said, yeah, it's a little bit better. But he has a lot going on right now. So just seeing him realize that, and so not only that, but so I have this book, it's called Jesus Calling, and I opened it up while he was meditating next to me, and I read it, and it was talking about like not leaning into God, and that like you were going to be being tense because you're not trusting and leaning in. And I gave it to him. I said, I think this, because it was the date that you read it. I gave it to him. I said, I think this was for you. And so he read it, and then like I could just tell he just kind of trusted and leaned in and found some relief. So
That's a beautiful way to introduce it, because I know you guys who have this understanding, you want to tell everyone, but the way we tell them is what they resist. But what Danielle did is she had the understanding, and so she asked the question. And so that's how I use Louise Hay's work, is by understanding how it's connected. I just bring up a question of that. I don't say someone said this, or this is how it is, or this is how it works, because what happens is we have to first get an awareness. Most of us are not aware. If you're still struggling, you are not aware. Just let that be known. If you're still struggling, you are not aware of what's really going on. So first you have awareness. The second layer, like you have to get to awareness. When you're in awareness, you will realize you are resistant. When you get to awareness, you will realize your resistance. See if that makes sense, because this is really tricky. So you guys who are saying, I've been healed before, I believe it 100%, but it's not working for me right now. I'm aware that I'm not fully believing. Where is my resistance? I don't believe because is a question you can ask yourself. I don't believe it'll work for me right now because, and see what you get. And just journal it, just write it out and let the answer let the answer follow. Don't try to go in your head to get it. Just write that down. And then once you have an understanding of what the resistance is, then you can come to a state of neutrality and get curious. And that's where the magic is. So I'm going to take this to Bridget. So it's different. So I think every one of you have something different, which gives a lot to the audience. So for Bridget, her tension and stress goes to her head and creates a lot of pressure. And she's a people pleaser and she worries about everyone else. So she carries those emotions in her shoulders. I've been knowing Bridget for so many years. And so as we would exercise together, work together, and then I was doing massage, we were working on it. So I was her 911, when she was in a bind.
Yes.
And then one day I'm like, not doing any more massages, but we can do it over the phone. And she was like, huh? I think that's the exact thing you put, huh?
Yeah. It sure was.
Yeah. So and then this kind of the same thing happened with you at retreat. I think almost the same exact thing happened at retreat in life. And like while we were sitting there, you started worrying about something that was going on at home, or you didn't get the response you thought you would get from someone on the phone. And we did the same exact thing, but we did it in person. So I'll let you share that. Just whenever you didn't understand how we could do this without massage.
Yes. I honestly thought that I needed you to do the work and to touch the areas. And I had to, of course, talk about it. And I thought I needed you to bring up what was bothering me. And I still did. I mean, I'm telling you, a few weeks ago, I bought some books and I've been reading up on it and everything. And until I did it myself, because, I still text you, I would message you and I'm like, I'm feeling this. And it's like, I wanted to believe, but then I didn't, and I don't know if I can do this. And I don't know if this is true, But a few weeks ago, I had like the headache and the earache and everything. And I was like, okay, what is going on? I'm going to see if I can do this. And so I read up on it, and it said that I was not listening to my inner wisdom. And I'm doing, okay, because I've been going through a lot of things of putting myself out there with my new business and everything. And so the moment that I was aware of it, I'm telling you, it's like, it went away. Like I didn't have to go through all this, all I did was become aware of it and said, oh, that's true. That is true, and resonate with it. And it went away.
I'm willing to feel it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like where you were going though. You thought, and this is for all of you listening, you think it's the therapist.
Yes.
You think it's the diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
You think it's the prescription. You think it's the answer, right? So yeah, these supplements, these things can help us physically. We don't take that away. Like Kayla's an herbalist. We're like, go and get you some ayahuasca and calm that shit down. I mean, some ayahuasca, say the other one. Say it again.
Ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha, not ayahuasca. That's a big difference, but you can do either. But go or get you some lavender tea or get you. So I'm not saying that we don't use the things to help the physical parts. Like if you need to put an ice pack or a heating pad, and that makes you feel calm and it relaxes you into your nervous system so that you can heal and you have accessibility, that's fine. But this was Bridget thinking I was her guru, her whatever. Like she thought the power was in me.
Right.
And I kept taking her inside of herself. And I was like, it's in you. All I'm doing is holding the space for awareness so that you can stay in the discomfort long enough to allow it to release. And that's what you thought you were coming to me for, is like to do that part. But what we want to do is teach you how to do it yourself. And that's what all of these coaches, this is what they're all trained in. Not for them to be the healer, but for them to teach you how to self-heal.
Yeah, for sure.
How long did it take your brain to understand, or is it not fully on board that it's really not requiring me or a chiropractor adjustment or a massage or?
No, I'm on board now. But this was within the last few weeks, because I've been going through a lot of, subconsciously, I gave my my notice at my 21-year-old career that I thought I was going to retire at. And so I thought I just worked through all the emotions, the emotions, I should say. Um, I had several things that led up to it. One time, a few weeks ago, I had a sore throat, a
Ulcer.
cough. Yeah, that was later. Like I had I think it was a cough and a slight sore throat, and I had a gathering that I was supposed to go to, and I really didn't want to go. And family member kind of made me feel like I needed to go. So it took a while for me to figure out. So I'm driving and I'm trying to, I'm like, okay, what is it? Why do you feel like you have to go? Well, first of all, I had to get present to figure out that's what it was. And then once I did, I worked through it and I figured out why I felt like I had to go, why I didn't want to go, and really felt, went within and was like, okay, I don't want to go and it's okay. And I'm telling y'all, within 10 minutes, my cough and tightness in my chest was gone. And my throat, I could swallow, my throat was clear. And I had a wonderful evening because I chose to do what I needed to do and what I wanted to do. And so that's when I was like, what? And I even told my stepmom about it because, we've been talking with her about it. And I was like, this is so cool. And so I just kept reading about it. Monique had introduced me to the secret language of your body.
Mhm.
Is it Ina? Ina?
Yeah.
Segal? And so I kind of used that.
We
Because
can
the
post
way-
these books in the group, by the way, guys. So just let us know if you want. I have a dozen of them, and meditations and all of that stuff. Go ahead.
I feel like, if you can become present and figure out what's going on, it's like it takes a little while because I spin a lot, but that like I spin and spin and spin and things. And so I had to really become present at what was going on and figure it out because, there's so many things going on in life. And then sometimes I get stuck. An example was last week, I actually reached out because I had a lot of, I had an ulcer that came out in my mouth. I had my throat came back because it would go away and then it would come back. So it's like I was kind of like peeling layers, I guess, and working through a lot, and realized that it was something with me not being able to speak. I did give my notice, and so I did feel guilt and shame, and I worked through that, and it went away, and then it came back. And so it's like, okay, well then it's not quite, the lesson it's not quite learned yet. So let me figure this out. So then I went back in and with your help, and I think Monique, and I reached out to Kelly to get the correct oil for my ulcer because I knew it hurt,
Yeah.
so I knew I needed to try to heal, comfort, I guess, and then work through the emotions. So then I did realize that it was more of like, I was scared to express myself, to speak for my new business, because this was going to be my new thing. This was going to be my all, my new career, and putting myself out there. And what if I fail? What if they think I'm crazy? What the things that I want to say.
The police are gonna arrest me.
Yeah. So
I want to pause with you for a minute because you said something very important that I want to come back to.
Okay.
And that is, did you guys hear her say that it came back? And what she did is she navigated and took herself right back to it. That's the secret. That is the how. So if you listen to the way Bridget's telling the story, it came up, she reached out, she got help, it went away, it came back, she stayed with it. So check in with yourself. When you feel something and you go into the story, oh, here it is again, it'll never heal. That's not what she did. She said, oh, I'm not quite there yet. I haven't quite figured it out. I wonder what else. She went back to unpacking. Most people go back to the old belief, and that's what keeps you trapped. Can you see that, Bridget? Like I want you to notice that that's what you did, because I want to encourage your brain to understand that that's what it takes.
Okay.
It is a practice. Healing is a practice. Presence is a practice. Think about the baseball player. Think about the football player. They don't just practice one time and then they win the game, right? Matter of fact, they think they're winning and sometimes they don't win. They got to come back. It's always. So go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupt you, but I wanted to make sure that where you were is so important. If you guys don't get anything else from this call, take that.
I forgot where I was.
Right.
Oh, that's okay.
We'll come back. We have plenty of time. We're just opening up these calls to start doing now. Thank you for sharing. If anyone has any questions for Danielle or for Bridget, post it in the chat or in the Facebook group and tag their name. Peggy, let's talk about when you had this leg thing that kept going and kept going and kept going, right? And you were kind of dragging your leg at one point.
Definitely. It started about at the point that it was released, it had been about 5-6 months, progressively getting worse, waking me up at night like a dead leg. And I would have to literally pick it up and move it so I could turn over. I'd wake up in the morning and put my foot down and there was like no support and I would fall. And it fluctuated in intensity every day. And then Kim and I went to a weekend away and it was hurting during that weekend. During the night was when it was mostly in pain. And so one morning during that weekend, we were talking and I didn't have the pain in that moment. And so we went into what we call a breakthrough process and emotional release processing. And as we went deeper and deeper, it started to hurt. And I was like holding on to my leg. The pain was just like so intense. And I wanted to stop. That's my pattern of just stopping. And Kim offered to stop. And I had the thought that I know that this works. I had witnessed her sciatica. I was very close to it. And I saw the power in this work. So I agreed to just keep going. And as we went deeper and deeper, it would get more painful. And then there was the breakthrough when we realized that like I didn't have any clients at that point and I wasn't putting myself out. And it came down to a disbelief in myself and in me being able to do the work that I'm called to do. And once that.
I'm saying right leg is what
Right
you're
leg.
putting out.
Yes.
Right leg is what you were putting out into the world. So you can see the connection again. Go ahead.
Yeah, it definitely was the right leg. And so as we worked through it and we had the breakthrough and then we began to pack to come home and it was like, I'm like noticing, well, where's that pain? Like, where is it? It was so intense. Came home and that night I slept and I woke up the next morning and it was gone. Totally gone. I was like jumping out of bed. I was like, oh my God, Kim, like, this is like ridiculous. Was it really my thoughts and my old beliefs? And yes, it was my thoughts and my old beliefs. And it hasn't come back in that intensity, kind of like Bridget. Like every now and again, I feel something and I'm awake. As soon as I feel it in the nighttime, it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to look at this. And I look at like, what am I thinking before I went to bed? Where am I in my own personal growth and development? Where am I in my business? What am I disbelieving or afraid to move forward in? And I do what we call a little download and I do it. And then like, I go to sleep and I wake up the next morning and the pain's not there. This work is amazing, you know, and I could take many sessions back.
Yeah, we can talk so many stories. The grief
Right.
in the, like whenever we're in session releasing and the grief starts coming up in the lungs, you start having the coughing. It's fascinating how many stories that we have. and the
Yeah.
intensity and the layers of it, guys. Like it's like you think it's a one-time thing, and then something else, and it shows up somewhere else, and it goes somewhere else, and so it's like almost this. I think of it as a pinball game, like pew 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 pew. It's always going. Yeah, I'm looking. So I don't have any chronic pain anymore. I have chronic fatigue with adrenal fatigue, and so I'm having a hard time relating to this information and the symptoms of fatigue. Of course, because that's what the mind says, right? This is not me. This is not what I need. I'm not going to get what I need. This is what happens. I had adrenal fatigue. I was diagnosed several times by several doctors. I was even told I needed that I have a torn labrum and that we were talking about surgery. And my doctor said, you cannot go and have surgery. You're already adrenal fatigue, 3rd stage adrenal fatigue. Your adrenals will never come back. If you go under anesthesia one more time, I had already been put to sleep 16 times. This will completely shoot your adrenal system. I was just so exhausted. My body was so drained, so tired, and that's the messaging I was receiving. So I know what the messages are out there that you guys are getting. And I'm very sad and sorry for you that you are still there. But just so you know, this is the messaging that they have been taught, that they are teaching you. How many of you leave the chiropractor or the massage therapist or the practitioner or the physical therapist, and they tell you you're all jacked up, your spine is crooked, you got this longer than this, you got this. That is the language. And I'm very sad about that. I want to apologize for it. And it's not me who does it, it's who did it, but it is there. And it's disappointing because we are now trying to brainwash you. We are trying to wash your brain from all of that stuff because that is what's creating this. The fatigue comes from the depleting emotions. Stressful thoughts and beliefs lead to over release of cortisol. That is it. It is the same thing. It's just moved. The focus has just moved to something else. And it's a matter of coming back to understanding that your body has the innate ability to heal itself. And with sleep, and nutrition and belief and movement, you can attain it. But you have to take those steps in belief. You can't take the steps and not believe it. And you can't believe it without taking the steps. The belief has to be aligned with the action that you take. I can't, I'm like, I guarantee you, but I can't because I can't guarantee what you think, what you feel, what you believe. I can only be an example, a role model, inspiration, and I can only bring other people who, how many of you guys right here I'm looking at, Kayla, Peggy, Bridget, and Danielle had doubts? How many of you went to research more symptoms, more things, more, right? So you're human. And this is the human condition. Welcome. This is what we're here to experience. So I get that, but understand that the not being able to relate is, think about what's the thought underneath there and see if you can post it. Like, this is not going to work for me either. Like, because it's an ongoing thought that's just showing up again. I don't get what I need. I'm misunderstood. I'm different. See if you can find it so we can kind of work through it. Kayla, what's been your experience? So Kayla is a master herbalist. These gals are all trained as integrative life coaches, by the way. So they have been through a pretty intense program of understanding the mind body. I won't ever get better. There it is. That's the unconscious belief. And so I'm going to give you guys a script. We're going to give you some stuff. We're going to come back on. We're going to do more of these calls. You can post in the group. We're happy to support you. There's a dozen or so of this there, if not more. Kayla, you mind sharing like your experience, how you got into herbal, like just all of this? Because you live here where I live, and we see people walking around limping, exhausted, fibromyalgia, arthritis, diabetes, adrenal fatigue, and thyroid, I would say, are the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone, I very rarely run into anyone who doesn't have some kind of thyroid concern, if not on medication. And again, and a lot of them, the adrenal fatigue, they all go back to chronic fatigue, constantly tired. I know my personal story was watching you, and my judgment always came up. But like watching you go through yours and watching you, I was like, yeah, absolutely. This totally works. And you weren't the first person I'd seen go through this. But in my head, you had been doing this self-help work for 20 years. So of course it was going to work for you and not for me because I had just started. And so there was no way it could work for me. But it was my hip that was like lock up and seize up on my left side. And we had talked through this several times. And when I started finally, got to a point where I was doing construction in my building, the hip, of course, suddenly went away. It was amazing, that whole moving forward, and the fear of moving forward and then not being supported in terms of moving forward. So once I actually took the step forward, it went away, and it shocked me because I wasn't sitting and meditating about, I mean, I would write about it, I would think about it, I would meditate, but it wasn't like the intensity that you were doing with your sciatica. And it wasn't a practice that I had established over 15, 20 years. It was relatively new to me. And so that kind of piqued my interest. And then being able to combine it with the herbalism, in my head, they were always two separate things. The herbs were chemical, and then the mind body stuff was mind. And knowing now that I can integrate the two has been fantastic. Even my husband's shoulder pain, my mom recently with her lungs, she was able to embrace and actually grieve a death in her family. And no, of course, she's not 100% where she was prior to getting sick, but just that release of grief. Her breathing is 100% better from where it was. And so I guess my experience is I'm seeing it with myself, but more from that doubt and that judgment is like, well, of course it's going to work for you. Of course it's going to work for Danielle. Of course it's going to work for Peggy. She's been doing rituals and meditation, for most of her life. But somebody like me who is new to this, it's not going to work for me because I don't know how to do it. And I don't meditate for 2 hours. And so that's really kind of where I wanted to encourage people, is that it can happen, and it can happen very quickly. And it's not something you have to spend 4 hours a day journaling and meditating and doing all this about. It's just often just the recognition and the acceptance is enough to release the tension. Your nervous system calms down enough to release that tension. And once the tension is gone, the pain just goes away.
Look at all us generators in the room doing because that's our sacral sound. We're like, yes, more of that. Yes, that's perfect, Kayla, because it's exactly what she said. I'm thinking, is it Aisha? Is that how you say your name? What Aisha is saying is that she's like, I believe all of this. I know all of this. I understand TMS, but I won't ever get better. And this conversation is not relating to me. That is one of the very first signs that you are in resistance. When this particular conversation or this particular thing won't work for me, because this works across the board. You guys just heard 4 different experiences, well, 5 with mine, and how it was different for all of us. And it is about healing the nervous system. And so when we use massage therapy, chiropractor, like any of these holistic practices, as well as herbs or, oh gosh, what's the word? I can't ever forget, Teresa. What is the homeopathy and or massage therapy or chiropractor or essential oils. I believe in all of them. I was like, I ran around the country teaching aromatouch training with doTERRA oils. Like, I am a firm believer in it for healing the nervous system. Not necessarily the symptom, but the root cause is the emotions and how that is responding and reacting and what's happening in the body. And so when we can calm the person down, and it could be just through mindset, you might not ever need an oil or a practitioner or anything else. It could be just, okay, here's the 5 steps. You ready? I'm going to give you guys the how. It's behind me. Getting present. Slowing down. I'm going to give you an SOS. So here's your emergency. You're going to push the button when you can't handle it, when you can't go anymore. We're like when Bridget wants to call me and needs me to do a session on her, like that moment. This is what I want you guys to do. SOS, stop. Stay. Right now, just feel what's going on when you stop. Stop the madness, stop the spinning, think of all your S words. Stop. And open. So when you're open, you can breathe. And imagine each breath is bringing in more presence, more awareness, more consciousness. Your actual breath is your healing agent. So when you can stop and open, stay. You want to stay a good 90 seconds and allow the sensation, watch the sensation, investigate it, because you're open, so it's going to start bubbling up. So you're witnessing it, and then you're going to sink a little deeper. So you stop, open, stay and sink. You just want to be there with it. So just those 3 steps, you could do it in a couple of minutes. And dropping in. Does that make sense? That's just a like, hurry up and give me something, let me grab something. So that's how you get to presence. And then you start unpacking the story, like what Bridget's talking about and like what Peggy was saying and Danielle. Like, I just started investigating. I started asking these questions. Is it true I'll never get better? Is it true I'm different? Is it true they just haven't found my diagnosis yet? Is it true that this is, let me tell you what my thought was. Pain is my teacher. I was doing some major bypassing or mortarism or whatever. Like, I was giving my soul to the thing, whatever the thing was. Like, I'm going to suffer just like Jesus. That's what I was told to do. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed, like, I swear to you, that was my belief that we caught. Pain is my teacher. Because let me tell you what pain does. Pain gets my attention. And so I taught myself that. I taught my body that. So when I needed attention, when I needed to be caught, like, I made that agreement. Even though it was at a young age or an unconscious age or whatever, I made that agreement somehow, somewhere. And so that was the connection. When Kim's gone a little crazy and not listening and not paying attention, I'm going to give her some pain so I can get her back. See what I'm saying? That's the power of awareness. And so pain is my teacher. It was also my pathway to heaven. Because pain knocked me to my knees. And when I'm on my knees, I'm looking up. It's got my attention. God gets my attention. So these are the kind of things that are running through our minds. And they are coming from a lot of our perception as children, listening to the Christmas movie or listening to the, whatever it was. Like, we picked up these beliefs. And then we find ourselves in a position, like in this grace, you know, to endure. I want you all to sit with this for a moment. So powerful. Your nervous system just wants to get your attention. And once you give it acknowledgement, it begins to release. Yeah, it's like this seize. The third is once you start unpacking and you recognize what the story is, you recognize what you're telling yourself. Now you're going to navigate. So you're going to change the trajectory and you're going to interrupt the pathway. So the thing that you were doing, the thing that you always do, the things that you naturally do, you're going to stop. You're going to interrupt it. You're going to do something different. So it would look like if I go to Dairy Queen every day and I can't not get ice cream on my way home, you're going to take a different path. You're going to go a different way. You're going to go a different route, right? You're going to change the behavior. You're going to change the habit. And so what do you do right now when you have pain? Besides listen to the story, buy the story. And then I go on the internet, I research, I get the books, I call the friend, I call whatever it is. Just know that it's what's keeping you stuck. Whatever's in that habit and behavior, that's the gold, guys, right here. I'm telling you, it's the PUN. It's everything. I am present. I unpack the story. I unplug whatever's like I'm holding. I unplug and let it drain, like I reveal it. And then I navigate. Then you'll complain, Google search, get the diagnosis. Yep, that's the habit and behavior. This is what we've been taught to do. And what's the story behind it? Tell me what the thought is. You better get that checked. You know, so-and-so died of that. You know, my aunt got that, right? That's the story. Let's go cut our breast off because Aunt Louise had cancer. You should protect. It's like we're trying to protect ourselves from dying. We're gonna die. Just get that shit straight. Every one of us. What if we trusted to live? Like, what if we trusted life? And we don't get breast cancer because we don't have the same perception. We don't have the same behavior. We don't have the same understanding because we've changed it. You think about breast cancer and thyroid, what's happening? It's all our communication and our heart being open to love. When that flow is not going through us, that's where it's going to start building up. That's where we're going to start getting these conditions at. All right, I'm seeing we're after the hour. So that's your first 3 steps is to get present, do the SOS, stop, open, see, like be there, and then unveil the story and change the habit and behavior, what you typically do. Don't call and go try to fix the thing. Don't try to go get the night. Don't, just stay, come back to your understanding. I'm going to read you a script. So it's going to be on here. This is what I used personally. Subconscious mind, I am talking to you. Listen to me. I'm in charge. I'm in control. I'm aware of what you are doing. You are causing my pain. You are afraid of many issues. You are causing pain to distract my attention away from these issues, like what Bridget was saying. But I can handle these issues no matter what they are. I'm strong. I'm in charge. I'm in control. I will not act on these issues. So there's nothing to fear. I know that there's painful feelings inside of me. I know that I may even blame myself. I know I'm angry about that. It's not fair. But listen, just stop. I'm okay here. This is scary. And I'm okay. It's not going to hurt us. I'm not going to hurt us. These emotions are painful, yet I am safe. And so you can use your own words, however that looks, but it's basically, I am safe. It is safe to feel this. Okay, let's get a little curious. Let's look into it. I looked into sciatica, extreme sciatica. I looked it in the eye. I went all the way into it and I started describing it. And I started seeing what it was doing and it released. But the problem is when we don't have the coping skills, we don't have the tools to do that. And we don't know how to hold place for ourselves. And so we eject, we run away, we move from it and we try to shut it down. But it's all because we're afraid. Bridget was afraid to take action. So she let this stuff build in her body for years. I guarantee you now that she's made a decision and she moves exactly like Kayla and Peggy and Danielle, all of you, by the way, this is something that's so important to talk about. All of you are entrepreneurs. And that's why I think it's so important to have this conversation with people who are doing big things, because that's when it comes up, when we're afraid to fail, when we're afraid to put ourselves out there, when we're afraid to be seen. Because how many times did you not get picked for the ball team? Did you not get picked to go to Aunt Lucy's house? Did you not get, that shit is what's coming up. That's what's happening. It's that innocent. So that's what I want to offer you today. I don't want to, like, we're after the hour, but I want to answer questions and I'm happy to do this again. I know these girls are happy and there's many others who are happy to hop on and do these Q&As. And we're just going to keep having this conversation. We're going to keep bringing it to your awareness, keep bringing it to your attention. We do a meditation in the mornings at 8:10 across the board, Monday through Friday. And I am offering to do a introductory, like teach you how to meditate. So like in a way that you can allow these emotions to be processed through you. So I'm offering that. You just need to comment in the Facebook group, tag me, put it beneath here. I did put a post up. So if you go and answer there, it'd be easier for me to follow through if who's interested. I will set it up in a way that it's a series so that you can get the experience and then you can come and join the other group or you can just catch the replays. I do think meditation is really important. You for sure can research on YouTube and Danielle put her thing here. Vicky says, thank you. Your stories are so inspiring and powerful. Danielle says, my arm felt better once I was brave enough to face my emotions. my story, it isn't real without a diagnosis. Without a name, you are just complaining. So go see someone to get a name, which I am all for. I'm like, go get the diagnosis, because if we have the diagnosis, then we can find the solution. We can track it back. I love diagnosis. It's like, just understand that anywhere you go, whoever you see, they are going to believe in their diagnosis. If you're going to the spine specialist, you will find what you're looking for. Let's just put it that way. So if you're going to a rheumatologist, you will find that. If you're going to a brain specialist, you're going to whatever it is that you're seeking, that you think the problem is, you will find some evidence there. Evidence is everywhere. So you'll always find what you're looking for. So it's the same thing with TMS. You can find the evidence that you can heal. You can look at all of us. You can look at plenty of other people who have healed also, and you can use that as your evidence. So it's a matter of turning your thoughts around and finding the evidence that is related to the results you want. That's the key. Find the evidence that's related to the result that you do want. So if you're looking for a diagnosis and you're looking for the meds and you're looking for the treatment, that's what you're going to find. But if you're looking for the one who overcame it, if you're looking for the solution, if you're looking for the rewriting, that's what you're going to find. And that's what happened with me. When I went looking for the diagnosis, I got it. And then I had to do my own process and make that decision. So this is really dynamic, I would say. Okay, I'm just going to let each of you say one thing that you want to tell an audience of people who kind of believe you and are not really sure if it's going to work for them. And we're going to leave it at that. So we'll start with Danielle, and then Peggy, and then Bridget and Kayla.
I guess I would just say, just to be open to the idea that your body could heal itself, and that if, just give it a chance. You could always go searching the diagnosis later, but just see for yourself. Just give it a chance. Look for the evidence, like Kim said, for the people who have been healed. Listen to their story, because those who have been healed, they want to share their story, and they're actually like, they can't wait to tell everybody. And it's just, a lot of people aren't open. So just start asking questions and listening and looking for that evidence, like Kim said.
As a pharmacist, how often how hard is this being behind the counter at a pharmacy?
Yeah, so I'm not exactly behind the counter, because I'm in long-term care. I'm in closed pharmacy, closed door pharmacies. But it was very interesting to see just this year, whenever COVID hit, the nursing homes all shut down, closed doors. Family members couldn't go in, and just the amount of benzodiazepine anti-anxiety medications that were being distributed was incredible, first of all. Second of all, hearing lately people who I work with even saying that their mom has sciatica, or this one's thyroid is acting up, and that one's back is, and I think just this whole year has done a number on people. And so it's hard not to share it with people. It's so hard. You want to share it with them, but it's hard. So if you go looking, you will find people who want to share it.
That's good. That was a good one. All right, Peggy, what you got?
I'd say be open and be willing to question. That's the biggie for me, learning to question, like, my thoughts connected to my pain. Like my fear, I was told 10 years ago that if I didn't have a neck surgery, I would be paralyzed within a year. And so, like, anytime I have pain, that's my go-to. That was my go-to. Oh, this is it. This is now it's happening. I should have done the surgery. And it was the disbelief in myself that I could heal, which and sitting in that question, like Kim kept saying, is that true? Is that true? And it's like, well, I laugh at myself, because it's like I can't move, but I'm moving all the time. So it's not true. And there's that story that I keep believing. The minute I have pain, I go back to that old story and I believe that. And so it's to be open to the question, is that true? and find the evidence
Mhm.
that it's not true, and then believe yourself, believe that your body can heal.
So
And that,
many people
you
have
know,
heard what you just said. If you don't have the surgery, you'll be paralyzed. You could be paralyzed. I was bullied. I'll say bullied into removing my, what you call that? Gallbladder. And the threat was, you can do it now, or you can do it in an emergency and be cut all the way across your stomach. That's how he got me. Thank you, Peggy. I know this has been a really big story for you. We will tell that story one day about because you were like this, man. This was how you moved whenever I met you. What you got, Bridget? What would you tell people who want to listen?
I would definitely, I agree with the openness, and the openness to the new belief that Danielle put up there. My body has the ability to heal itself. Another thing that really helped me was getting into this community of people with the same beliefs and seeing the struggles and overcoming them. That's what really helped me, was the connection with other people. And of course, reading the books, learning about the books and, being able to research myself, of course, but the community that we have is just, it's amazing. So.
We're the bomb.com, man. We're so good. I think it's because we're so open and willing to figure it out, and support each other, no matter what it looks like, without the judgment and comparison. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, Kayla, what would you share, or do you want to share?
I always kind of go back to a quote from a Harry Potter movie. At one point, he's talking to whatever the character, but he goes and he says, just because it's happening in your head doesn't mean it's not real. And so many people will say this, well, is this meditation just in your head? Are these herbs just in your head? Is massage therapy just in your head? So what? If you get the relief, it's just as real coming from your brain, and more so than it is a physical, I guess, modality of some kind. It's like, yes, it is in your head. And yes, that makes it even more real, is kind of where I go with it.
All righty, guys. So I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, your thoughts do create your reality. So of course it's going to have to be real in your head before it's real anywhere else.
Yeah. That's that quote I put up today. It's like, you're going to have to believe something else to create something else, a new result or a new action. You're going to have to believe something you don't currently believe. And so by reading the books over and over in different books, that's all we're doing is look. It's not that we need to be smart and we need to know it all. We just need to keep hearing it. And so there's plenty of books out there where you can keep hearing it, or you can just choose to believe now. You could just decide to believe now. It could be that simple. That's what I did. I made the decision on the spot, canceled the surgeon, and I was like, that's it. I'm done. I believe that's over. I got up and I just went about my day, went about my life, and it's gone. It's been over 2 years. It's gone. So someone's asking about thyroid. And so if you relate, this is the last thing I'm going to say. If you relate the part of the body to what it does. So if you were doing like spirit animal stuff, like you would relate it to the characteristic of the animal, right? What does the red bird represent? What does the coyote represent? What does the skunk represent? Like you would do that. Same thing with the body. So the eyes represent, what am I not willing to see? The ears, what am I not listening to? What am I not hearing? What am I not speaking, communicating? My heart, what am I blocking? What am I holding back? It's like once we have hurt, we have this wall up. Hips are thrusting forward. Gut issues, what am I not digesting? Like these are questions to ask yourself. And we could do a whole call just on questions. And it's like your arms, like, what am I giving them away? What am I carrying? What am I giving away? What am I carrying for others? Like, oh, it's so heavy, right? And then your feet are moving forward. Your knees are flexibility, being able to bend. Your spine, your entire spine, all the way down is being supported. And up here, it's carrying other people's emotions. In between the shoulder blades is like a compost of all their crap. All the stuff you carry from other people. And what we do in this work is we turn that manure into compost that creates these wings so that we can be free. So that we can fly and soar. And then all the way down the spine, the further down you get is your security, your foundation, your family life, your safety within yourself. Like you think about the like the bottom of the hip area, like where your organs are, where your female organs are, like in that place when you're coming all the way down to the root chakra. What am I rooted in? You imagine this is the roots and then this goes into the ground. What am I rooted in? What am I grounded in? And so that's a way just to kind of start asking the questions. Like, and you can do this like with your teeth and with your, like, it's all parts. It's fascinating. I think the easiest way to explain it is like understanding is, okay, my gut is where I digest and assimilate. I'm not digesting and assimilating life. My lungs are where I grieve. So notice if you can't take a deep breath. How many of you can do and reach all the way down as if you were inhaling a cigarette, like all the way down to the lungs? If you can't, there's some grief under there, and your body won't let you tap into that, because then you're going to cry, you're going to open up, you're going to express. And so we just do shallow breathing. That way we never have to tap into that. I notice after session, when I'm doing healing session with someone, 99% of the time after and it always makes me laugh, and then they get mad because I laugh, because we know it, it's kind of how it works. You guys get a little bit too smart. So anyway, these are all telltale signs, but feet, plantar fasciitis, so common every time. Let me not say every time. A lot of time people start coming to exercise and then they can't come anymore because they have plantar fasciitis. So they go to the doctor, sends them to PT. PT tells them not to do anything at all. Guess what causes plantar fasciitis? It's all that tight fascia from not moving enough. Boof. That's what happens over and over and over and over. We don't move enough. You don't have to go beat yourself up and do all these major weights, but you got to move your body. You got to breathe. You got to drink some water. You got to brainwash. You got to clean your brain just like you clean your teeth. Clean that old conditioned stuff out so that you can have some clarity, so you can have some freedom. All right, it's 5:23. I know Danielle has a call. Thank you very much, guys, for coming on with me. And let me know in the comments if you want us to do this again. We have plenty of other people to come in and tell stories, so I'm happy to have them come on. We can do something a little regular for you. Come and see us at meditation. Let us know what you need, guys. Here it is. We're here to offer. We're here to serve. Yes, do it again. Love you all. All right, bye.